Hey everyone, so we all know Genshin Impact has 7 different elements, right? But let's be real, not all of them pack the same punch in battle. Pyro? Now that's a whole different story. This element is seriously one of the strongest you can get, especially when it comes to dishing out damage and triggering crazy elemental reactions. Plus, Pyro is super popular. There are over 10 characters rocking that fiery vibe. That means it's pretty easy to find and level up a Pyro character on your account. But here's the thing. Instead of just picking any Pyro, you'll get way more bang for your buck if you build the absolute strongest Pyro character possible. So stick around and let's dive into which Pyro heroes deserve your attention. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Alright, let's talk about Klee, one of the original Pyro characters that stole everyone's hearts the moment she appeared in Genshin Impact. She's that tiny bundle of energy from Mondstadt, who's basically a walking, talking explosion with a smile. Seriously, her personality is as cute as it gets, and her backstory adds a nice layer of mystery, especially with her mom being one of the most enigmatic figures in the game. You can't help but love her for all the chaos she brings during events and story moments. Now, when it comes to her gameplay, Klee is definitely fun, but also a bit of a double-edged sword. She uses a catalyst as her weapon, which means she attacks with fire-based magic, causing those flashy pyro elemental effects we all enjoy. Her damage output can be pretty solid, especially when you invest in her properly, but here's the catch. Her kit starts to feel a bit clunky after a while. It's like she needs a lot of attention and resources to truly shine, and if you're not ready to dedicate the time and materials, she might not keep up with other Pyro characters in the long run. So, if you're thinking about building Klee, just be ready for a bit of a grind. She's super rewarding when everything comes together, but it's definitely not the kind of character you throw into your team and forget about. Her explosive style is unique, and if you love pyro damage with a dash of adorable chaos, Klee is still a fantastic pick. Just don't expect her to be the easiest or the smoothest character to play at max potential. Let's switch gears and talk about Yoimiya, another pyro powerhouse but with a totally different vibe from Klee. Coming straight from Inazuma's famous Naganohara fireworks shop, Yoimiya bursts onto the scene early in the region's story and instantly leaves a lasting impression. Her cheerful, bright personality really shines through, and you can tell she's someone who lives to light up the sky, both literally and figuratively. When it comes to gameplay, Yoimiya wields a bow, and her elemental skill is what makes her stand out. Activating it infuses her normal attacks with pyro, which means every arrow she shoots deals fire damage, and not just a little. Her damage spikes up big time. What's cool is that while her skill is active, she's basically a non-stop pyro damage machine, making her one of the strongest pyro damage dealers in the game. But she doesn't just stop there. When her skill is on cooldown, she can still chip in by supporting her teammates, which adds a nice layer of versatility. So, if you're looking for a pyro character who's both fun and effective, Yoimiya is definitely a top pick. She's got that steady, reliable damage output that can carry a team, plus a personality that makes every battle feel a little brighter. Whether you want to main her as your damage dealer or use her to boost your squad, Yoimiya brings that perfect mix of firepower and charm to the table. Let's dive into Chevreuse, Fontaine's first 4-star pyro character, who really shook things up when she dropped alongside a huge event. Right off the bat, her kit feels fresh and unique compared to a lot of other pyro characters we've seen. One of the coolest parts is that she actually brings back the overload reaction. Yeah, that low rank elemental reaction that got overshadowed for a while is now meta again thanks to her. Plus, her elemental skill has a neat bonus. It heals your active character a little, which adds some nice survivability during tough fights. But here's where it gets interesting. Chevreuse's main strength lies in her first passive ability, which basically buffs the overload reaction by lowering the enemy's resistance to both pyro and electro. This means if you're running a team with just pyro and electro characters, she'll boost your damage output big time. The downside, it's kind of a niche setup since you have to build your team around that combo, which might not fit every player's playstyle or roster. Still, if you're into overload teams or want to try something a little different for endgame content, Chevreuse is a solid pick. Her kit rewards strategic team building and lets you capitalize on elemental reactions in a way that's both fun and effective. So, if you want to mix things up and use a pyro character who offers healing and a unique buff, give Chevreuse a shot. She might just surprise you. Let's talk about gaming, the claymore-wielding pyro character from Liyue, who really brings a fresh twist to the table. What's cool about gaming is that his whole kit revolves around this powerful plunge attack that only activates if you hit an enemy or a wall with his skill. It might sound a bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, you can chain these plunge attacks during his ultimate, turning him into a serious damage machine. It's a unique playstyle that definitely rewards precision and timing. Now, the real magic happens when you build a team around him. Gaming shines brightest with the right supports. Bennett's final constellation is a game changer here, boosting his damage output to crazy levels. Plus, adding Hydra characters like Furina off-field lets you trigger the Vaporize reaction, which multiplies the pyro damage and makes gaming's attacks hit even harder. It's like putting a turbocharger on an already powerful engine. But keep in mind, this kind of team needs a dedicated healer because gaming doesn't have built-in sustain, so someone has to keep him in fighting shape. So if you're into characters that require a bit of skill and teamwork to unlock their full potential, gaming is a fantastic choice. His kit may take some practice to master, but the payoff is huge damage and some of the flashiest combos you can pull off in Genshin Impact. Just remember to build your team carefully and keep that healer handy because with the right setup, gaming can absolutely melt through bosses and mobs alike. Let's talk about Bennett, the sword-wielding adventurer from Mondstadt who somehow manages to be the unluckiest guy in the story, but also one of the strongest support characters in the game. His lore is full of mishaps and bad luck, which makes him super relatable and honestly pretty funny. But don't let that fool you. When it comes to combat, Bennett is an absolute beast, and many players jokingly call him the only 6-star character in Genshin Impact because of how powerful his support abilities are. What really sets Bennett apart is his elemental burst, which creates a fiery field that heals your active character while giving them a massive attack boost. This little zone is a total game changer, especially for damage dealers who rely on raw attack power. Pairing Bennett with pretty much any main DPS character instantly makes them hit harder and survive longer, which is why he's a staple in so many team compositions. The only catch is that if your DPS relies on defense or health scaling instead of attack, Bennett's buffs don't quite pack the same punch. So, if you're looking for a support character who can turn the tide of battle with one ability, Bennett is your guy. He's easy to build, works well with almost any team, and brings both utility and healing, which is a rare combo. Plus, his upbeat personality and unlucky charm make him a fun companion both in and out of combat. Honestly, once you try him, it's hard to imagine your team without Bennett's fiery boost. Let's chat about Xiangling, the spicy little chef from Liu who has honestly earned the nickname Hoyoverse's favorite child. She's one of those characters who just does it all. You can build her as your main damage dealer, a solid sub-DPS, or even a reliable support that triggers elemental reactions left and right. Seriously, once you invest some resources into her, she becomes that versatile powerhouse every team dreams of having. One of the coolest things about Xiangling is how well she synergizes with pretty much every new polearm weapon that drops in the game. It's like the developers designed her kit to flex perfectly with whatever new gear you get, which is a huge plus if you like experimenting or want to keep her relevant through new updates. Plus, she's one of the free characters you can snag from the Spiral Abyss, making her an even sweeter deal for players who want a strong pyro option without spending Primo Gems. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you unlock her constellations. They give her some serious buffs that can totally change the pace of battles, boosting her damage, reducing cooldowns, and enhancing her elemental burst. All in all, Xiangling is just one of those characters who's super easy to build and fits into almost any team, making her a must-have for both beginners and veterans alike. Let's talk about Lyney, the stylish 5-star pyro archer from Fontaine who's been making waves as one of the top pyro characters in Genshin Impact. What sets Lyney apart is his unique playstyle. Unlike most bow users who rely on quick shots, his main damage comes from charged attacks, which are usually tricky to pull off consistently. But don't worry, his kit is cleverly designed to make those charged attacks way easier to land, so you don't have to feel like you're constantly struggling with timing. One of the coolest things about Lyney is his elemental skill, which summons a magical hat that taunts enemies and pulls their attention. This gives you a great opportunity to control the battlefield while you unleash your powerful charged attacks without getting interrupted. It's a really smart way to keep enemies focused on the hat instead of your squishy main DPS. Plus, the fact that he can drain his own health to boost his damage and then regenerate it makes for a high-risk, high-reward style that's super satisfying when you get it right. If you want to build Lyney to his full potential, the Marishoshi artifact set is pretty much the perfect fit. It boosts his survivability while amplifying that health drain and regenerate mechanic, letting you push his damage to crazy heights without worrying too much about running out of HP. Overall, Lyney is a fantastic choice if you like a pyro character who plays differently from the usual cast, mixing clever battlefield control with some intense charged attack combos. Hu Tao is that fiery polearm wielder from Liu who's been reigning as one of the top pyro damage dealers in Genshin Impact for quite some time. As the director of the Wangsheng funeral parlor, she brings a unique blend of charm and danger, but what really sets her apart is her incredible HP scaling damage. Most of her damage comes from her charged attacks, which get a serious boost when she activates her elemental skill, turning her into an absolute powerhouse on the battlefield. If you've played Lyney, you might notice some similarities in their kits, especially how both rely heavily on charged attacks, but Hu Tao simply takes it to another level. Her multipliers are huge, and when you combine her damage with the Vaporize reaction, triggered by Hydro characters, and the Hydro Resonance bonus, she melts enemies faster than you can say Pyro. She's especially deadly in single target fights, making her perfect for boss battles or elite enemies where sustained high damage is crucial. That said, Hu Tao isn't just about raw power. She rewards skillful play because you need to manage her health carefully to maximize her damage output without risking a knockout. But once you get the hang of it, she's unstoppable. So if you're looking for a pyro character who can carry your team with insane burst damage and enjoy some of the most satisfying charged attacks in the game, Hu Tao should definitely be at the top of your list. Arlecchino's arrival in Genshin Impact definitely turned some heads, especially since we first got hints about her during the Fontaine story arc. From the start, it was clear she wasn't going to be just another pyro character. Both her lore and gameplay hinted at something special. When she finally dropped in version 4.6, players quickly realized she was a game changer, introducing a brand new way to approach damage with the Bond of Life mechanic. Now, this Bond of Life mechanic wasn't entirely new to the game, but Arlecchino is the first character to fully integrate it into her kit, which makes her stand out big time. Mastering how to use Bond of Life effectively can seriously boost your damage output, allowing her to regularly dish out over 100,000 damage in battles. That's huge, especially when you consider that she can outshine even the top pyro characters in crowd control and multi-enemy fights. If you're looking for a pyro polearm user who brings something fresh and powerful to the table, Arlecchino is definitely worth your attention. She's perfect for players who love mastering new mechanics and want to dominate big fights with massive burst damage. With the right setup and some practice, she can be an absolute beast on the battlefield, turning every encounter into a fiery spectacle. Let's dive into Mavuika, the fiery claymore-wielding pyro archon from Natlan, who's shaking up the meta in a big way. For a long time, claymore users haven't been the go-to choice in Genshin Impact, aside from a few exceptions like Gaming and Kinnich, but Mavuika changes that narrative completely. She's got some of the highest damage potential in the game, especially when it comes to her elemental burst, which can hit over 1 million damage with the right build and team setup. That's absolutely insane for a claymore character. What makes Mavuika even more exciting is how she keeps the pressure on even after her ultimate activates. While her burst is going off, you get a few extra seconds to deal serious basic attack damage, turning her into a non-stop damage machine. This means she's not just a burst character, she excels in sustained fights, letting you keep the heat on enemies without needing to swap her out constantly. And here's the cherry on top, even when Mavuika is off the field, she still contributes to the fight. She leaves behind a ring that deals continuous pyro damage to your active character's enemies, making her a great off-field damage dealer as well. If you want a pyro claymore user who can dominate both on and off the field with insane damage numbers, Mavuika is definitely a must-try character. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.